Hello, hello, hello once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox. I'm Angela Box. Put my chair up a little bit. Before we jump into all the crap today, I have to give a shout out. I talk about my fiance on this show a lot because, he's my fiance and I love him. But like earlier this year when I met him, he turned me on to this stuff called diatomaceous earth. And I was like, "What? What is that?" I use that in my pool, and you can. There's some pool cleaners that use diatomaceous earth, but basically what it is, he's trying to explain it to me, and I'm just like, math is hard, science is hard, but essentially it's the exoskeletons of algae and other little creatures that are collected up and then put to use in pool cleaning and stuff like that. Well, they realized that you can also have a human grade consumption for this. And it basically makes your hair grow like crazy and it helps your skin and your nails and all that. And I've been taking this stuff since January. And I will say this, I have to also give a shout out to my hairdresser, Katarina, because I used to have like literal straw hair, like literally, like it was a mess. And she completely saved my hair for that. But this year, like I used to have to kind of keep it shorter because my ends would be kind of, scraggly and things like that. And because of this diatomaceous earth, and I recently started also taking oral minoxidil, but I really credit this to the diatomaceous earth. Like my hair is like thick at the bottom. It's crazy. And I'm actually able to grow it out for the first time in my life and it not looking like a scraggly hot mess. So I would encourage you to look that up. There's it's basically a 10-pound bag of it's almost light as air. It's very lightweight stuff. It's a huge bag. It'll last you forever. And you just put a scoop of it in your morning drink or your smoothie or coffee or whatever. And you got to stir it up real good to make sure it gets all, dissolved. But I'm telling y'all, it's really something. So thank you to my fiance for turning me on to that. Speaking of my fiance, his company, it's a company called Vertuvian, and Vertuvian is a wealth management company, and he doesn't do a lot of advertising because he's sort of under the radar. But I really want to give a shout out to this company because, again, meeting him has had a lot of beneficial um, things happen to me because I met him. He's an amazing human. But like when he looked at my account that I had when my father passed away, he had an insurance policy for us, and we all got a little bit of money from it, all the kids. And he looked at the account that I had, and at the time, and he was like, "How come like there's only X amount was made in 4 years?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about this." And he was like, "Well, we do pretty well for our clients." And he showed me a couple of his the returns he was getting. I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." Y'all, this year so far, he's made me like 30%. I'm not exaggerating. So I want to give the number to you. If you want a free consultation, like he will walk you through his process. He's got a lizard brain, and I mean that. Like he's really, really good at this stuff. The best part about Vertuvian, in my opinion, is that it's not just a wealth management company. It's the man that owns it, my fiance Fred, is a very deeply moral human being, and he doesn't take his job lightly. It's not Wolf of Wall Street stuff. Like he's actually a good person and a great steward of people's money, and he's a very strong Christian, and God is at the center of his life. And I don't say that to be like preachy or anything, because I'm not, but that's just the reality of who he is. So here is the number in case you are interested in talking to him, because again, I would really recommend it. 832-208 5019. 832-208-5019. When I tell you that he's made me enough money this year that I don't have to have a regular job, like I can pay my bills off the dividends. I've been able to hire a social media company. Like these things that I never would have been able to do had I not put my money with him. Like I'm telling you, he's the real deal. All right, that's a lot of exposition. We haven't even gotten into any good stuff yet. I'll save that for the next segment, but I wanted to talk a little bit about last night. I went on the Isaiah Factor, and it was about the Hunter Biden pardon. And I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this call. I was like, it's funny because sometimes they'll call me and sometimes they won't call me. And there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world, obviously. And so many things that could be commented upon. And, I have a couple of theories. I'm like, well, maybe they're like, we just need a little bit of Angela. And I get that. Like, I get that. A lot of Angela all the time is too much for a lot of people. I'm fully aware of that. That's okay. And also I'm like, well, maybe they just don't want my truth bombs to just be lobbed all the time. But when we get back from the next segment, I'm going to talk to you about that appearance last night, and we're going to get into the Hunter Biden pardon, and we're going to get into Kash Patel and all the other stuff going on this week. The way that Biden is behaving right now is anyone surprised? Like, no, nobody's surprised. The left is surprised because they're not very bright, obviously, but normal people are totally not surprised with what's going on in the world. So, all right, when we get back, we're going to get into that. You're listening to the Angela Soapbox. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Angela Soapbox. This week on the Saturday show, I'm having a guy named Tony Ortiz, a Current Revolt, on because there was a really cool Paxton thing that he did. I may not have time to get to it, so I just kind of want to reference that. So definitely check the Saturday show because there's a lot going on there. Before we jump into the sea turtle killing plastic straw and all that, I have to give a shout out to Apple. Now, obviously, I'm an Apple person. I am not sciencey. I am not techie at all. And Apple, when they came out with the iPhone and the Mac and all those things, like they create products that, like, I would say normal people can access and understand. And I mean, honestly, with every update that comes in and they're like, oh, this new thing and try this. And it's like, I don't even know. It's kind of like my car. There's all these, things that you can do with the car. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. But Apple came out. Apple basically put a stake in the heart of woke is what's going on. And the wokesters don't seem to understand that it's done. And look, it's going to take some time to de-wokeify these institutions, de-wokeify college campuses, de-wokeify the media, de-wokeify the culture. And, they're not going to go without a fight. If the press tour for the awful looking Wicked is any indication. I mean, y'all, if you've not seen Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo who play in Wicked. Again, Wicked is a musical that I've never seen. I'm not really into musical theater, but I've heard it's very, very good. But the thing about musicals that I think are insufferable, there's a lot I think are insufferable about musicals, mainly the singing, the overwrought singing. But the thing that I find annoying about musical theater is that sometimes, like in Les Miserables, for example, 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. It was like all singing. There was no speaking whatsoever. I was like, oh God, this is not what I signed up for. I like a musical that has a story and a play during the musical numbers, like Oklahoma, for example. But anyway, so Wicked, the stage play, from what I understand, is like pretty balanced with the story and then the music. Evidently, this train wreck of a CGI barf fest, Wicked, is like 98% singing, and it's like it's not good. It's not good. It's super woke. And it's just, again, it's all CGI, and it's just lazy. It's just so lazy. And I promise I will get to the Apple ad because this all ties into it. it's just it's laziness, it's dependence on special effects, it's dependence on, that overwrought Gen Z millennial singing that we've all been tormented by these many years. And I'm like, hard pass. And I went on IMDb. I can't remember if I talked to y'all about this last week or not, but I want to keep bringing it up because it does tie into the other points I'm trying to make here. IMDb is a great reference and a resource. And I went and looked at the 1 and 2 reviews, the 1-star with 2-star reviews. And they said basically the same things I would have said. Like, this is, it's the message. It's the wokeness. It's the, I'm black and I've been like all the dumb things. Okay. So Cynthia Erivo is a British actress. She's black. Ariana Grande is, I don't even, with this little pocket-sized person with her, jacked up face. She looks absolutely nothing like she did when she was becoming a singer, like 10 years ago. Like, nothing. When she was a teenager, go look at what she's done to her face. She doesn't look like the same person. Anyway, there's this press junket that it's all over social media. These two whack jobs, Ariana and Cynthia, are just like, they're acting like they split the atom or something, or that they cured cancer, or that, they were in a concentration camp. Like, the way they're talking about this movie and how important it is, and, how important they are, obviously. And Cynthia Erivo is like next level cringe. She's like, oh, nobody else could have played this but me. I'm a queer black woman who has to walk around in this skin all the time. It's like, lady, give it a rest. So the wokesters are not going to go down without a fight. And unfortunately, this movie is going to make a ton of money, and we're going to have to hear about it. And, God forbid it gets nominated for some Oscars. I mean, the Oscars are an absolute joke, so I'm sure it will be nominated, but it looks terrible to me. Anyway, all this is to say, woke is, the election of Donald Trump put a nail in the coffin of woke. But just like cockroaches, they will always resurface, and they're not going to go down without a fight. So this beautiful ad that Apple put out just, I think, last week. I mean, y'all, I was crying. I mean, I cry pretty easily, but I was, even though I have a cold, dead heart, like, even I was like, okay, I mean, this is great. This is really, really beautiful. Juxtaposed with the garbage campaign that we're getting from Jaguar, for example. Jaguar, if you've not seen this thing, oh my God, you guys. It's like every tranny, Clockwork Orange nightmare barfed on an ad that you don't even know what the product's for. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go see this ad. And they're just getting roasted for this thing. And of course, it turns out that the head of marketing or whatever is some gay, like, guy that likes to wear mesh shirts when he's talking to crowds of people and talking about how this is just how it's going to be and we're taking space and all this crap. It's terrible. It is so bad. Now, juxtapose that with this new Apple ad. Let me set this Apple ad up for you. So evidently, Apple has a new product. They're AirPods that can be used as hearing aids. So for the hearing impaired, they can give you a little more accessibility to family and friends and hearing. And it's an ad with a father. And let's stipulate this. It's a white heterosexual family, okay? So right there, we're on the right track because that's how most families are, okay? Not necessarily white, but heterosexual, mother, father, child. And the little girl is opening up something at Christmas. She's opening up a guitar, and the father is hearing just muffled sounds and just thinking about all the times that he gave her a musical instrument and how she would play it. And it is a beautiful ad. And then at the end, the mother goes, "John, listen." And she hands him these AirPods, and he puts them in, and he's able to do on his phone to raise the volume and stuff. And I don't know if these are specific AirPods for the hearing impaired or if this is just a new feature of AirPods. I'm not sure. But he was able to hear his daughter play Our House by Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I mean, y'all, It was beautiful. Good advertising has that ability to take you to places that you didn't think you could go. And so for Apple and Tim Cook to realize and to have the humility, maybe they're never going to admit it that they were wrong, but at least to have the ability to course correct, to have the ability to say, okay, the culture is changing. The culture basically admitting that they never wanted any of this garbage. Like, we just all want to get along. We don't need your agenda shoved down our throats 24 hours a day. And so Apple, I think, has really redeemed itself. And if you look at the comments on X, I mean, it is just 100% positive. Go look at the comments on the Jaguar commercial, 100% negative. So, advertisers and companies that have gone down this path of wokeness and, listening to the Human Rights Campaign and making sure that, what they say goes or what BlackRock says goes, like, they're starting to figure out that we're all done with that. Like, we're all done. And the election of Donald Trump is the period on the end of the woke sentence. And so I do think that even though they're going to kick and scream and they're going to talk about how marginalized they are and all the yawning, stupid crap they always do, I feel like we're back. I really do. It's a pretty fantastic time to be alive, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? All right, I didn't get to Hunter Biden yet. I promise in the last two segments, we're going to do Hunter, we're going to do Kash Patel. All right, I promise you I will get to those. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox. I'll be right back. Okay, let's get to the Hunter Biden laptop. The Hunter Biden pardon. Now, we're going to give the sea turtle killing plastic straw to Joe Biden. No, you know what? I'm not even going to give it to Joe Biden. Because, look, anyone with two brain cells to rub together knew that Joe Biden was going to pardon his crackhead son. Like, he was going to do this. And so I said this on Isaiah's show last night. I said the people that are like shocked that Joe Biden would go back on his word because he's such a trustworthy guy and he's such a man of honor and a man of deep morality and a man of deep principles. The people that are shocked about this are the same people that are like, where did those 20 million Biden votes go a few weeks ago? Like, they're just perplexed. They don't know. They don't understand. Why didn't Kamala Harris get those 81 million votes? I mean, these people are they're not very smart. Okay, so let's give to, I guess, the media, because the media is the ones just like, what? Are you serious? Like, you're so dumb. Okay, so to no one's surprise, Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, but he didn't just pardon him for the crimes he basically was found guilty for. And he was found guilty. It wasn't like it was some rogue prosecutor like has been done with Trump cases. The Alvin Braggs, the Fannie Willis, the Letitia James, whatever. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice, Joe Biden's Department of Justice. So even the clowns in the Department of Justice, the criminals running the Department of Justice, looked at this case and they're like, okay, look, we're not going to like look into Burisma. We're not going to open up that can of worms because then it would give a credence to everything Republicans have been saying that Joe Biden is a traitor and was selling his office to the highest bidder. We can't do that. So we're just going to charge him with some kind of low-level gun crimes and some tax evasion stuff. And he was found guilty, I believe, in Washington, D.C. by a jury of his peers. So you know that the evidence had to be completely overwhelming, like just overwhelming, that not even a Democrat jury could be like, oh, we got to convict this guy. Like, it's so obvious. So Joe Biden didn't just issue a pardon for Hunter for those crimes. He issued a pardon going all the way back to 2014. Now, here's what's interesting about that. So in 2014, obviously, Joe Biden was over there in Ukraine talking about getting prosecutors fired unless they stopped looking into his son, because there was basically a coup that was done in Ukraine. And I'm going to kind of reference this post from Clandestine. If you don't follow Clandestine on Twitter, like, what's up with you? Okay, so basically in 2014, Obama's CIA and State Department destabilized Ukraine. And guys, all this stuff with the Trump-Russia collusion hoax and the Ukraine impeachment. When keep in mind, why was Trump impeached for a phone call that was not any the thing that Trump asked Zelensky in the phone call? I've talked about this before. Lots of people have. I'm not breaking any ground here. I'm giving you backstory. Zelensky came in. He was supposed to be a reformer. Trump was like, all right, let me call this guy and be like, look, can you please look into this bribe that essentially Joe Biden did with the last the last president of Ukraine, this Poroshenko guy? And was it Poroshenko? I can't remember if it was Poroshenko. I'm trying to think of who the was it Shokin? No, Poroshenko, I believe, was the prime minister. Viktor Shokin was the prosecutor. So Trump just basically said to Zelensky, listen, I know you're a reformer. I know you don't like what's been going on. Can we please look into these things? Like, can you just look into these things? Because basically Joe Biden was like, if you don't stop looking into my son, Obama's going to cut off all the money to Ukraine. And even the CIA hack, Eric Ciaramello, who's connected to all of this, who worked for the CIA and then was like Joe Biden's point person on Ukraine. Like, even he was like, ooh, yikes, that's not a good look. But he's the guy that like leaked this phone call. And of course, Alexander Vindman was involved in it too, saying that, Trump was asking for a quid pro quo and this is terrible. And then Trump released the transcripts and it wasn't that at all. Yet they still impeached him. Okay? So Joe Biden taking this pardon all the way back to 2014 basically is saying that the entire Biden crime family, which everyone with two brain cells to rub together who's not completely look, when I go on these panels on Fox 26, I am amazed at the lack of knowledge of some of my panelists that I debate. Like, just blown away at how little they know and how much they've been fed the media narrative. And I said last time, I'm like, y'all are in for a rude awakening, okay? A reckoning of truth is coming. Like, you're going to be shocked. Like, the rest of us aren't going to be shocked, but y'all are going to be shocked because your media has been lying to you. And your media has been hiding the truth from you. But the truth is out there. You just don't want to find it. Anyway, so he sends this pardon all the way back to 2014 when Burisma was involved with the money laundering and they basically did a coup on Ukraine. Now, here's what Clandestine said. 2014, Obama CIA State Department destabilized Ukraine, took over via a color revolution, and the CIA has done this over and over and over again in many different countries. That's one of the reasons they don't want Trump in there. That's one of the reasons they don't want any reforms whatsoever. Installed a puppet regime and turned Ukraine into an offshore playground for criminal racketeering and money laundering. And they spent the last 10 years covering it up by any means necessary. So this is why these people are basically gunning for World War III right now. This is why you're seeing Russia basically like trying to stop this thing, but saying like, if you cross this line, like we're going to have no choice but to respond. And basically the world is holding its breath until Trump gets in there, just being like, can you please stop this? Like, people don't want nuclear war. People don't want World War III. This is the level of corruption we're dealing with. This is the level of evil, the level of criminality, that these people are literally willing to start World War III in order to not be exposed. And obviously, when Putin talks about the bio labs in Ukraine that are funded by the Americans, that's not a conspiracy theory. The media had to finally admit that was true. Do you think that it's possible that these biolabs maybe was working with China to, I don't know, maybe engineer a coronavirus? Because it goes back to 2014 when they started working on coronavirus, and maybe something they could, release to the world. I don't know. I mean, call me crazy. Look, what we're getting ready to find out with the things that these people have done is really, it's going to be an earthquake of epic proportions. And that's why Trump's going to be on Mount Rushmore one day. Because people, when they finally pull their heads out of their butts, and probably 10 to 20% of the population won't, like, whatever, like, let them flail away and be miserable. But the rest of us are going to realize that, holy crap, everything that Trump has been saying is true. Everything that these conservatives have been saying is true. Jim Jordan, James Comer, talking about the Biden crime family, how much they used the clout of Joe Biden's name to enrich their family. I mean, this is treason. So Joe Biden going back and doing a 10-year pardon of his son is basically admitting that everything we said was true. Everything we said was true. And, the left, after they got over their initial shock of this is basically the flex that they're doing. Well, it's his son, and he only has one little boy left. His other boy died. Poor Joe Biden. Joe Biden's just a father, and he's just, he just has a few more years on this earth. I'm like, well, yes, Joe Biden is going to hell soon, and hell is eternal, Joe Biden, but not sure this is the best way to ensure that you don't burn in the fiery pits of hell until the end of time. There's some, to be a Christian, you have to believe that as long as you accept Jesus Christ, that you're saved and you're going to go to heaven. And look, I get that on a spiritual level, but I feel like if really bad people do really bad things on this earth and hurt people and hurt innocent people and try and set them up and do all the things that they've done and enrich themselves using taxpayer money and murder people and have them silenced and all the things, like, I gotta believe that there is judgment for them on the other side. Like, maybe they will be with Christ in heaven one day, but I feel like there's gonna have to be a reckoning, an eternal reckoning. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, imagine if all of these people do not have earthly justice. Like, imagine if Joe Biden, they continue to cover these things up. The media continues to spin lies of omission, not cover things. Imagine if he doesn't ever face earthly consequences. Like, do you really think that eternal God, who is the Alpha and the Omega, is going to be going to let him slide for doing all these evil things to his fellow human beings? I don't know. I mean, I'm not God, obviously, and I don't know how that whole thing works, but I think that there's got to be some eternal justice coming for this guy. And that's why I said last week, I'm like, you have a decision to make, Joe Biden. And now that he's pardoned his son for 10 years and all crimes that he might commit in the future, or he has committed, the FARA violations, and I just got to think, this guy's, he's going down with the ship. Like, he's not going to confess. He's not going to work with Trump and tell him everything he knows. Like, he's going to go down with the ship. He thinks that this is a way to save his legacy. It's like, you have no legacy, dude. You're like, you will be on the level of a Benedict Arnold when this is all done. Because look, you trying to preemptively pardon people like Jack Smith or Adam Schiff or whoever, which is what Democrats are now saying that they should do to make sure that Trump can't get these people. It's like, well, that's a tacit admission that they've committed crimes. Okay? That's a tacit admission that they are criminals. You don't have to preemptively pardon anyone that didn't commit any crimes. Okay? So I don't know. I don't think that he's going to be able to do that. I also don't think that these pardons cover treason, which is exactly what the Biden crime family has been up to. And Obama knew it all, obviously. Like, it's just a matter of time, people. All right, one more segment. Let's talk about Kash. I'll be right back. You're listening to Angela Soapbox. Welcome back. Okay. If you thought that the Matt Gaetz nomination, I still think that Matt Gaetz is going to be special counsel. Like, I think that's what's going on here. I think that, Trump put him out there as a trial balloon, knowing that the earthquake would be real and sustained. And I mean, they lost their damn minds when Matt Gaetz was announced. I mean, just flipped. And all of us have been waiting and hoping that he was going to pick Kash Patel for FBI director. And lo and behold, over the Thanksgiving weekend, how appropriate that over the Thanksgiving weekend, he's like, it's Kash. And I mean, let me tell you something. The Matt Gaetz was a big enough earthquake, and then he had to drop out a few days later. And Kash was like, hold my beer, because this is going to be, talk about a reckoning, okay? All the right people are having meltdowns about this. Andrew McCabe, James Comey, Adam Schiff, all of them. They're like, Andrew Sullivan, who was Hillary Clinton's, what was he? He was on her campaign, and then he's Joe Biden's NSA director. And let me tell you something, that guy, you can tell these people are panicked. Like Adam Schiff goes on CNN and to talk about this Kash Patel thing, and he's got total dry mouth. He's like, you can just tell, like, the panic is settling in. The terror is settling in. Jake Sullivan, same thing. His eyes. He doesn't look like he slept since election night. Like, they know what's coming, okay? Jake Sullivan's like, I really think that Chris Wray should just go ahead and finish his term. Like, I think that's what Trump should do. I mean, at this point, you would think that they would just keep their mouths shut. You would think that they would just be like, I'm not going to have any comment on Kash Patel at all. If they were smart, they'd be like, oh, let's give Kash let's give him a chance. Like, he's a very smart man. He's a brilliant lawyer. He prosecuted many, many cases. And, he's a very smart man. Also, he's a brown man, so that makes him intrinsically superior to some old white guy he could have appointed. So let's give him a chance. If they were smart, that's what they would be doing. It's not that they're not smart. It's that they are panicked. And they can't hide their panic. Because Kash Patel wrote a book called Government Gangsters. And then Steve Bannon made it into a movie, which I need to see. I hope Fred and I can see it maybe this weekend. We're in the middle of moving and renovating this condo that he bought. And I on a side note, I said this in a video earlier this week. I was like, a condo we're bought and renovated. I'm like, wait a minute. My fiance bought the condo. He's just letting me live there. Okay. I really, it's annoying to me that, men and women have different roles in family lives and different roles in society. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, at all. But I always find it a little annoying when women who don't have to work or have like a typical job, or even if they're homemakers, like homemaking is a real job. Homemaking, being a wife, that's a real job. But you're not out there earning the money. Your husband's out there earning the money. And so there's a funny Curb Your Enthusiasm that kind of talks about this. And I was like, Larry David was 100% right. Like, this lady got real offended because he was like, well, you're not making the money. Your husband makes the money, and he gives you the money that you can spend. I'm not saying being a housewife and a mother is not a job. It is. But like, let's not get it twisted here. You're not out in the workforce. But, and I certainly would consider myself a person who lives in reality and realizes that I'm not the one who bought the condo. Anyway, the point is, we've been very busy this week. And we haven't had a chance. I haven't had a chance to like do a ton of videos or whatever. But the Kash Patel earthquake, the Government Gangsters book basically outlined, in the movie, basically outlined how the Crossfire Hurricane thing happened, how the Trump-Russia collusion hoax happened, the impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, all of it. And I am still, I shouldn't say I'm shocked, because the media obviously are the ones that perpetuate the lies of commission, lies of omission, things they taught, things they say, things they don't say. When they say with a straight face that Trump, tried to thwart democracy in 2020 and said that Joe Biden didn't get 81 million votes, but they're also, again, out of the other side of their mouths, they're going, where'd those extra 20 million votes go for Kamala Harris? Again, it's like, are you dumb? Can you not put things together that perhaps the thing Trump was talking about, where they shut all the swing states down at 10:30 at night, they trucked in, trucks of ballots at 1:30 in the morning, 98% of them went for Joe Biden. We all wake up the next day and all of a sudden Joe Biden's ahead when he was totally losing the election. And they're like, oh, everyone's going home and we're not going to count any more votes. But yet when we wake up, he's ahead. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg here. I'm not even talking about the Voldemort machines. Look, they're going to have to, like, at some point, reality is going to have to set in for these people. I mean, I'm not holding my breath, but at some point it will. But anyway, so the Kash is a guy that helped with Devin Nunes on the, I don't know what committee it was. Maybe it was Judiciary when Devin was in there looking at the Trump-Russia collusion hoaxes and all the things. He was the guy that was Devin Nunes' right-hand man and his investigator, essentially. And let me tell you something. Kash Patel, I got a chance to interview him a couple years ago. My friend Madhu, he's an Indian-American lawyer. He was able to make that introduction for me, and I was very grateful. And, it was, Kash does a million interviews. He won't remember mine. It wasn't anything, like, out of the ordinary, but it was really cool to talk to him. I mean, he's just a brilliant guy. He's a brilliant man. And he's going to go into the FBI, and he's like, on day one, it's going to be the J. Edgar Hoover building. 24 hours later, it's going to be the Museum of the Deep State. And he's talking about sending these agents. Well, first of all, we need to purge the bad ones. And I don't think the bad ones are the rank and file ones. The bad ones are on the 7th floor, as they say. The 7th floor with the James Comey and the Chris Wrays, etc. Those are the ones that need to be purged. Those are the ones that need to be exposed. And look, even if statute of limitations have run out for some of these things, the statute of limitations for treason is never, okay? And what these people did was treasonous. All of them committed treason. Whether you're talking about Obama or Clinton or Clapper or Comey or Brennan or Biden or Hunter Biden or whomever, all of these, Adam Schiff, all of these people committed treason. And I would go further and say that people in the media also committed treason because they knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real. They knew that Joe Biden was a criminal. They knew that something really weird was going on in Ukraine. And why are we giving $300 billion? By the way, Joe Biden, this a-hole, if you, like, again, I for about 3 seconds thought that maybe he was going to have a crisis of conscience, realizing he's going to be dying soon. He doesn't want to go to hell, so we better start unburdening his soul. That flew out the window this week. He gets up there and he's like, we're going to give, $200 million more to Ukraine and $1 billion to Africa to help with their storm rebuilding. It's like, excuse me? Like, if you go, let me tell you something. The media is not reporting this, but in North Carolina, after Hurricane Helene, it is cold right now in North Carolina. The East Coast gets very cold. There are families living in tents all over the place in North Carolina, freezing to death. With nothing. FEMA is nowhere to be found because FEMA gave all their money to the illegal aliens. And FEMA made sure to deny services to Trump people with Trump signs in their yard. Like, look, that's treason too, okay? There is so much going on that the media is not talking about. And so for them to have a collective meltdown over Kash Patel tells you that, again, he's 100%, he's the only choice for FBI director. And if these a-hole senators, McConnell, I'm just thinking of the people that said no to Matt Gaetz, McConnell, Mullins from Oklahoma, sadly, Collins, Murkowski, and then this new guy from Utah, Mitt Romney Jr., evidently, if they all say, no, we're not going to do it, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the Senate's role is to confirm these picks, but it's also like, doesn't a president get to pick isn't the line that the incoming president gets to choose the team he wants to have? Isn't that what we've always heard? I mean, these people are not felons or criminals, so let him have his people, and if they flame out, like, that's better for you, Democrats. Like, let Trump, if you think that Trump is such an idiot, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, he's whatever, if he's a criminal, then let him put his cabinet in, and they will all fail, and then you'll get your 2028 nominee, and he'll be able to sail through. And the MAGA movement will be killed. That's not what they're afraid of. What they're afraid of is that Kash is going to be effective, that Kash is going to expose all these things. Kash has said, we're gonna release the Epstein files, we're gonna release the Diddy list, and oh, by the way, how about we release the JFK and the 9/11 files too while we're at it? Like, that's what's coming, y'all. And that's what they are deathly afraid of. Also, we're going to find out that a lot of these journalists have been on the payroll of the CIA for decades. Okay? Guarantee it. They basically sign their souls away to the FBI for some clout and some money and some, grease in the skids so they can get their little network TV jobs. These people are getting ready to have a reckoning. And that is what the American people voted for. And that is what is going to happen. And so however Trump needs to get his nominees in, by hook or by crook, it needs to be done. It needs to be done. When he becomes president, and if they won't play ball, then he needs to adjourn the Congress. That's it. And then put these people in without Senate confirmation. That's what needs to be happening. And if we're going to see a Matt Gaetz as special counsel, which again I think is what's going to happen, like I am all for it. I am all for it. It's not retribution. It is a response to what these people have done. And when Trump pardons the January 6th defendants and he pardons this poor man in New York, Daniel Penny, who was just trying to protect people on a subway by subduing a lunatic who'd been tormenting the people on a New York subway. This poor Daniel Penny was just visiting New York, Navy SEAL, has to subdue a guy, puts him in a chokehold. The guy ends up dying. They just found him guilty of like second-degree murder in New York. It's absolutely bananas what's going on, okay? Trump is going to pardon that guy. I hope he pardons all the January 6th defendants. I hope he pardons Tina Peters because she's the one who, again, wanted to make a copy of the server that Dominion was getting ready to come in and wipe all the evidence that their algorithms were flipping votes, allegedly. I don't want to get sued for $1 billion. Look, the pardons that Trump's getting ready to do, their hair's going to be on fire. I don't even care. Like, bring it on, man. Bring it on. These people deserve the reckoning that's coming to them. And it's going to take some time because, again, they're going to kick and scream against it. But the truth always comes out. And they're getting ready to have some serious karma delivered to them. All right, that is my time. I got to rush off to my other show. Please check in on it on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. It's also uploaded on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!